Hello everyone and welcome to Final Fight, which is sometimes incorrectly attributed to inventing beat-em-ups, though it did create many of the tropes used in beat-em-ups. We're going to be playing as Cody first because I think that's the easiest way to get a grasp of the general gameplay. So the thing about Final Fight, like every other beat-em-up really, is that you need to be on the same plane as your enemy to attack them. This is already immensely different from traditional 2D action games. Some 2D action games let you switch between one or two planes, but beat-em-ups let you move up, down, and all around, to the point where trying to count the planes would be futile. So it's essentially full 3D movement, but 2D. Players are forced to keep in mind an entire extra dimension while even trying to land a blow, let alone evade enemy attacks. And it's not as though traditional 2D game design has gone out the window, it's just that it's now part of a new equilibrium. For example, after one does the dirty work of lining themselves up with the ever-moving enemy characters, you still have to consider how the attacks work in the first place. Oftentimes the biggest factor in deciding how you should attack your enemies depends on the range of your character. Hitboxes and hurtboxes in beat-em-ups are always very precise because they have to be. The range of your character's attacks has always been important in 2D games, it's just now it's part of a bigger picture, kind of like a Matryoshka doll. And of course, we also need to consider the range in which our enemies attack. If our arm reaches farther than theirs does, congratulations, we get to punch them before they can punch us. So you line yourself up with an enemy, and that's when the traditional 2D gameplay comes into play, right? You don't want them so close that they can hit you, but you want them close enough that you can hurt them. The new 3D movement coupled with traditional 2D game design probably seemed like it was innovative enough when it first came out. No reason to go any deeper than that, right? Well, thankfully, beat-em-ups do go deeper than that, even the earliest ones you can imagine. Instead of just using the 3D movement as a vehicle for 2D gameplay, the 3D movement is used as a new method to evade enemy attacks, letting you go around them. You know, back when it was strictly 2D, there was no around. You had left, you had right, and you had jump. But with beat-em-ups, multiple enemies could attack you from multiple planes at the same time, meaning that moving around their attacks was essential. At least, it was essential if you wanted to make the most of full 3D movement. Because of this, we can trace pretty much any 3D action game back to beat-em-ups. Even character action games like Devil May Cry, which seem several steps removed from the genre, all had their roots here. Today's beat-em-ups are no doubt far more complex, but back when beat-em-ups first came out, being able to move in 3D at all was pretty innovative and unique. It created a new equilibrium which not only used traditional 2D game design, but created new game design that could only be used with 3D gameplay. So by adding a whole new dimension to movement, it added a whole new dimension to video games, period. And that's at least the basics of why beat-em-ups are the best thing ever. Don't you worry, there's more later. Say hello to Thrasher. Can I call you Damned, Thrasher? I feel like we've known each other a while. Thrasher's whole thing is that he thrashes. It kinda throws the player off guard, or at least it would if you were new to beat-em-ups, which is probably the idea back when Final Fight came out. After he takes a significant amount of damage, he hops out of range, but he will soon try to dropkick you. He's sneaky like that. The easiest method to deal with Thrasher is to come at him from above or below and toss him. That's pretty important too, but we'll get more into that later. Thrasher isn't really that tough, like I said, he just hops around to confuse the player, but he's easy enough to deal with. He's only slightly more of a hassle than the normal enemies. He's equally as simple as a character. He was brought up into a life of crime, being a Caribbean drug lord who eventually escaped to America where the Mad Gear noticed his talents. And well, they hired him to thrash people. Simple enough. I mean, a drug dealer who's also good at thrashing people must be a rarity. Better scoop him up while you can.